Hello and welcome. I'm James Milan, and I'm pleased to welcome into our studio Purya Ozerbaijani, an Iranian filmmaker, to talk about his film, Everything is Fine Here, which we will be premiering here in conjunction with our partners at the Arlington International Film Festival. So we'll start by just getting a brief idea about your background in film. I know that you have made many commercials for Iranian television, and that you've also written plays. Is this your first film?
In a way, you could call this either my second or third film because of the fact that even though Everything is Fine Here was done as my third film, because of the problems I had with my second film being banned from releasing in Iran, this movie actually got the notoriety or the public viewing first.
I understand that you financed this film yourself. What were the particular challenges that you faced in doing so?
Given the fact that there was no government backing of the movie, I had no sponsors to help with the funding of the movie. I used my own personal income, which was mainly through doing TV commercials. For this endeavor. As you can imagine, supporting your family and at the same time trying to use part of that money for artistic doings cannot be easy. So this project was not an easy one.
And speaking about what was not easy about the project, it is an unusual film in many ways. The subject matter, for instance, is difficult. It is about rape and its aftermath. And yet, having seen the film, I can say that it is both quiet and intense at the same time. How did you come to choose this subject matter as the topic for your film?
As you can imagine, this is a very sensitive subject matter, whether it's in Iran, which is somewhat of a closed society, or in foreign countries. It's a subject matter that's difficult to tackle because at the same time you want to be the voice of the person who's been done wrong, and you want to make sure that they get some recognition for all the pain that they've gone through, but at the same time you don't want to be judgmental. And you want to walk this fine line as far as doing something that will reflect the real tragedy of rape and would be something that everybody can feel.
And the film explores women's place in Iranian culture. Can you talk a little bit about the effect of that and what the film has to say about that?
My film is not necessarily about women, even though there is obviously some focus on a woman. But at the same time, the bigger picture I try to portray is how we should all get along in society as a whole, not necessarily just how the women are portrayed or how the men are portrayed, but just as a society. That's what I wanted to sort of tell my story about.
And your film received the Human Rights Award at the Monaco Film Festival. I was wondering, what human rights do you feel are most affected in a situation like you explore in Everything is Fine Here?
The main point of my movie is not necessarily the subject of rape, but what consequences any violent action like that could have in the society and how somebody's rights could be easily pummeled by judging that person one way or another. So the movie is not necessarily about any specific human rights, but as human rights in general.
Clearly, there were difficulties in making it in terms of needing to finance it, as we talked about, and also the subject matter. So I'm wondering whether you had an audience for it in mind right from the beginning, and if so, what is that audience?
My main audience obviously were the people in Iran. I wanted to bring some sort of a light onto this subject matter and make sure that people can realize what's going on around them that they should be aware of. But at the same time, I can't help but also want to have a wider audience internationally, especially for those people who are festival goers. They want to see films of some substance and films that make you think at the end.
So what was the hardest thing and the easiest thing about making this film?
What I can say about the difficulties in the movie is actually the fact that because of my past experience having done a few movies, I really can't say that this was difficult because I'm passionate about my craft. But at the same time, if there was a difficulty to speak of, it would be the previous regime in Iran when the movie was actually filmed. There were difficulties, as you can imagine. Making the movie under those circumstances. But thankfully, since there has been a change in government, the future looks a little brighter and there seem to be some opportunities for a wider release of the film.
And was there anything that was in fact easier than you thought it might be?
Actually, I thought I had answered the question first by saying that since I've been doing this for over 10 years. That's the easy part. Making films is the easy part for me, and I can point to that as being, let's say, the easier part of the whole process.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add about your film?
The only thing I want to add is the fact that my wife, who's here today, has always been by my side throughout my career, and I have always been able to count on her to be my partner, and I want to thank her for that.
For filmmaker Purya Ozerbaijani, I am James Milan. I want to remind you just one more time that we will be back here and showing the film we've been talking about on Friday, April 24th at 7:30 in the evening. All are welcome, and we hope to see you here. For Arlington Public News and Arlington Community Media, I'm James Milan, wishing you the best.